Will Harley Quinn's new solo movie take flight or crash and burn? Find out when Johnnie Torch reviews Birds of Prey in the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Well, how's that for a opener? That's a mouthful, huh? It's pretty appropriate for this kind of a jumbled up movie that seems like it could come only from the mind of Harley Quinn. Greetings. Thank you for joining us. This is a Johnnie Torch review. I haven't done one of these in quite a while, but I got the DVD for Birds of Prey a couple of months ago, watched it. It really didn't entice me to make a video. There really isn't a whole lot here, although, as I always say, I'm so verbose, I'm sure I'll come up with something to make this an overlong review. I'll try not to make it too long, but a lot of controversy. We'll start there. A lot of controversy coming in to this movie. As usual, a lot of ink spilled, a lot of digital ink over how it was going to be very woke. Once again, the film was marketed as a girl power and female empowerment film, and that, you know, men need not apply. It wasn't made for you. And that rubbed people the wrong way, as it is wont to do. A lot of people stood away. It wasn't a hugely successful film. It does have its fans. You know, it had middling reviews. I wouldn't say it was a disaster, but yeah, not particularly popular. And of course, well, let's just say the situation of movie theaters also had it close a little bit earlier, so they have that excuse. This will be a spoiler review, so let me just say some brief thoughts before I get into any detail. As has been sort of the consensus, I don't think this is it's not a complete disaster, let's put it that way. It's not a completely awful film. A lot of people will probably want to sync this up there with, I don't know, Fantab-yada-yada-ya-Harley, Halle Berry's Catwoman, Elektra. I don't think it's horrible. It's certainly not to the extent some of those were. I don't think Elektra's horrible either. This is probably comparable to that. But it's really a tale of two halves. We'll get into that in the details. I don't know. I don't think that they went all out woke the way many were fearing. The only thing is, there is not one positive male character in this entire movie. So, you know, if you're looking for some male role model, you've come to the wrong party. There is not one to be found here. But apart from that, it really doesn't wear its wokeness on its sleeve the way, I don't know, maybe even Captain Marvel did. So, you know, I would say it's a middling film. It's okay for what it is. Yeah, I gave it about 2.5 stars out of 5 on Twitter when I first said it, so I just watched it again for the second time. And I would say I'm giving you the last review you'll ever hear about Birds of Prey, but honestly, I think the same effect happened here as it did with like Fantab-yada-yada-ya and stuff like that, where people just didn't see the film. So if you are interested in hearing about the film and you still haven't seen it, because let's face it, a lot of people are just going to wait for it to go on cable. It'll probably be on HBO Max by the end of the summer, early fall, and then people will start checking it out. Right now, I actually went and plunked down some for the DVD so I can, you know, get a little bit of an earlier look at it. So there you have it. Now we will get into the spoiler portion of the review. As I said, a tale of two halves. I believe if this were solely a Harley Quinn film, it might not be a great film, but it would be a lot better. The stuff that drags it down is trying to make it a Birds of Prey film. Of course, Margot Robbie is producing this film. She was behind this film. She was the one, ostensibly, that had her choice of scripts on where to go with the character after her largely successful turn in Suicide Squad. Of course, a lot of people felt that she was the highlight of Suicide Squad. Again, mixed feelings there people have about that movie. I thought it was pretty good. And she wanted to go with a all-girl team-up film next, instead of going with some of the proposed things such as Harley versus Joker. I guess Suicide Squad 2 was in the works at that point, and Gotham City Sirens. But she chose to go with Birds of Prey. I think if this film was just a solo Harley Quinn movie, it probably would have came off better, because the thing that really drags it down is the Birds of Prey. The Birds of Prey are not identifiable in any sense, shape, or form as their comic book counterparts. We'll just go through them, I guess. There was Black Canary, of course, by Junie Smollett, I believe. Again, I don't have any really notes here. Junie Smollett Bell, excuse me. -Bell. Again, this actress did not look or act like Black Canary in any incarnation of the character. You really could have replaced her with any other character, or even a non-superpowered character, seeing as how she only uses the canary cry once, to little effect. So that was a disaster. Cassandra Cain, of course, the woman, who becomes the next Batgirl after Barbara Gordon. I don't follow along with that stuff too well, but obviously this is not that character. She is not highly trained in any shape or form. I mean, she's a pickpocket. I guess that takes some skill, but apart from that, she has no skills or talent. Could have used any other character, could have just created a character. This is not Cassandra Cain. Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress. She was probably the most fun character outside of Harley Quinn. They tried to give her some kind of attitude and so on and so forth, but again, didn't really pull it off, didn't really come off as Huntress as I ever remembered her from the comics. They did give her a fairly accurate origin, so they kind of had that going for it. Let's see, Rosie Perez as Renee Montoya. This is a character that was in the film way too much. And I understand if this was a Harley solo film, that might have been the reason for it. But honestly, I don't know. This character just got on my nerves. Rosie Perez, is an accomplished actress, so she gives a decent performance. But I don't know. I felt like every time they started pulling away to the Birds of Prey, I just lost interest rapidly. All right, so the plus side. Now that was pretty much the negatives. We'll get into some more, minutia of it in a moment. But the positives is, of course, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. She was born to play this character. She gives a great performance. She's a lot of fun to watch. She really embodies this character the way the animated series, introduced her to us. It feels very much like genuine, authentic Harley Quinn. And whenever she's on screen, it is really captivating. It is fun and worth watching. It's only, like I said, the storyline that really brings this down, and the storyline starts pulling it apart in different directions with, the Birds of Prey members. Let's talk about the story for a minute. The story basically has Harley breaking up with the Joker. Now, I was against this from the get-go when I heard this is the way they were going, because we really didn't have a full movie of Harley and the Joker together. The film really hinges upon your knowing the source material, because there is no real peaks and valleys in the Harley-Joker relationship. We pretty much see them on good terms during Suicide Squad, and the film opens with sort of an odd couple type. She just gets thrown out by the Joker. No real explanation needed. In the Suicide Squad, I think particularly the extended cut, we see a little bit more of the Joker and a little bit more of his reluctance to sort of take her on as a protege. Say what you want about the Jared Leto version of the Joker. I honestly didn't like the whole tats and grills and sort of urban gangster type thing they were trying to do with it. But they could have had this movie be the way to reinvent the Joker. And I could see them using him to the same capacity that they did in Suicide Squad, where he is really just a sort of a perfunctory, a performer in the whole dealings. That probably would have been better to bookend this film with that and have him actually be a character. So the story has it that Harley Quinn, is broken up with the Joker now because he cast her aside, and she has to make the best of life without the Joker's protection. Everybody starts coming after her now because of her, shenanigans and sort of reckless, living life with reckless abandon alongside the Joker. Starts catching up with her, and she finds that she's up against a lot of opposition. Now that part of it was pretty good. That I can see was interesting. Then we are introduced to Roman Sionis, the Black Mask. If you know anything about the Black Mask in the comics, I don't know a whole lot about him, but he is not a funny character. He is a pretty grim and dark character. They chose to make him basically the source of comedy for the film. I think it may be unintentional, but it seems like he is played for laughs, I think at least 99% of the time in the film. It's, of course, a role played by Ewan McGregor. Now, the only thing I could see the reason why my boy Ewan took this role is as penance, because he had to be making up for something. I know that he's been in the sort of the tabloid, the tabloid area of the newspaper more than once, for past indiscretions, but they're really, I don't know, they play him as a very effeminate and, sissified version of Black Mask. It's funny. It's pretty funny, but again, it's not Black Mask. Victor Zsasz is in it as sort of his major domo / BFF / a little bit closer than BFF. It's kind of not really explained, but again, he's not really. I mean, you can play Victor Zsasz kind of funny. They did that in Gotham, which, I actually hate the character of Victor Zsasz because it's basically just a serial killer. It's a serial killer that marks himself up after he kills somebody. They made him kind of compelling on Gotham, and I said, if they want to make him kind of tongue-in-cheek and kind of, a little goofy but still dangerous, this guy was just, I don't know. I don't even know the actor's name, but it's not really worth my time to look up because he was just basically a perfunctory goon. I mean, he made no impression. They gave him the one token scene where he, opens a shirt and shows his tally marks. But apart from that, he really was a non-entity as Zsasz. So the storyline, was pretty fun when it's talking about how Harley is trying to put herself in a better place now that she's away from the Joker. And they don't really, they show the struggle she has with breaking up with the Joker. It's not really like they just try to do the girl power, woke stuff. She does struggle with it. The film does take the downward turn, though, when they start going into the stuff that the Black Mask wants. Cassandra Cain, who picked the pocket of Victor Zsasz and swallowed a diamond that had all kinds of important information and led to the Bertolani family fortune. And so basically, and again, I didn't really mind this either, that Harley sort of takes this kid under her wing, but it's basically after that is like, it's just the potty humor of trying to wait for Cassandra Cain to pass this diamond. And again, I don't know. That's, I'm not a big fan of potty humor. And so that was also kind of distasteful, to say the least. Then we have the fact that it's rated R. Now, this was something that was a real bone of contention for me, because if you've seen my review of Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix film, I already went through it there, but again, a brief encapsulation. I don't believe these comic book movies should be rated R. They should be aimed at all ages audiences. That's another reason why the film probably isn't going to reach the biggest market. Now, unlike Joker, which was sort of an Oscar bait film where they were just trying to Scorsese up the Joker story. This film really had no reason to be rated R. I mean, there are 2 or 3 moments of violence that maybe could have been toned down in order to get a PG-13 rating. There's like 135 F-bombs. Honestly, if you lost 134 of them and took the one that you're allowed in a PG-13, you wouldn't have lost anything. A couple more, minor flourishes of blood whenever Harley hits somebody with a mallet or something, but really is not noticeable. This film did not need the R rating. It was just, because it seemed like the real reason for the R rating was basically to curse. And that's the problem with getting an R rating over the cursing, because when you do that, it feels unnatural. Unless you're around somebody with Tourette's syndrome or something, what I mean? You're not going to hear the F-bomb, whatever it was, 135 times over the course of 2 hours. It just takes me out of it anyway, particularly when we're talking about a character that's fun in games. And as I always said, Harley Quinn really, to me, is like a 9-year-old trapped in the body of like a hot 23-year-old or something. She's not really a character that's meant to be, not to be overly adult. I know that they have the Harley Quinn TV show as well, the cartoon show, and I've been against that too, that they seem to be trying to make an adult comedy out of Harley Quinn. I don't know. The way the character was introduced to us in the Batman the Animated Series, it was nothing like that. It was very fun, very lightweight, lighthearted, you know what I mean? There was no, sexual overtones, no lesbian overtones. There was nothing really like that. It was basically just that Harley is just like fixated on the Joker. She's madly in love with the Joker, and the Joker sort of tolerates her, as long as it benefits his machinations. You know what I mean? It's like he's not really a character that's capable of love, but he keeps her around for his own purposes, whatever they may be. You fill in the blank. The action in the film was very good. From what I remember, I think they had the John Wick team come in and do some punch-ups to the action, and it's very good. There are a lot of, I don't know, what is it? There are like 2 or 3 action set pieces of Harley Quinn fighting. The one in the jail cell was very good. She goes and shoots confetti and bean bags and so forth, and gets into a fist fight with the bounty hunters and criminals. It's very good stuff. It's fun on the action. The final fight in the amusement park, or whatever that was supposed to be, was also done pretty well. There's an action scene with Harley on roller skates going after a car. It was done pretty well. Again, I can't fault it for the action. Again, it's pretty much middle of the road stuff. I think it would have been a much more successful middling comedy if they would have probably taken out the Birds of Prey elements, if they would have focused more on Harley Quinn and made it, a fully rounded story about her and the Joker, and what happens when she leaves the Joker, and what the Joker's reactions are. It would have been more interesting, because we've dealt with this in Batman the Animated Series a couple of times, where Joker either kicks out Harley, or Harley is off on her own, or whatever. We really didn't get to see any of that here. And it's kind of interesting. It kind of feels like a wasted opportunity to go back to that, like I was saying early on. This would have benefited from a full movie with Batman as the protagonist, Joker as the antagonist, and Harley Quinn being the sidekick. We never got that. We still haven't got that. If they'd done the Joker Loves Harley movie, or whatever that was going to be, it might have been a more manageable piece to get us here. Because again, this is another situation where they kind of just jumped from one extreme to the other, where they looked like they were madly in love, and then now they're basically exes. I don't know. It's interesting because, speaking of mad love, like I said, the film kind of hinges on you knowing mad love, knowing that they have a dysfunctional relationship, Joker and Harley, because in the movies we don't really get that. we just kind of get that they were a couple. Joker was weird, and then he kind of just cast her aside. We don't really get any progression of the story beyond that. All right, let's see. Before we wrap it up here, let's see. Is there any individual scenes? Maybe, let's see. They did the hyena, which was cute. I thought that was cool. They brought the hyena, and originally she had two in the cartoons, Bud and Lou. And this one she names him after Bruce Wayne. There's a couple of Easter eggs, I guess you'd call them. We see a poster of Captain Boomerang in the police station, and she says, "Oh, I know that guy." I thought it was pretty clever. We see the shirt from the first Suicide Squad. I think that might be the same mallet. I think she actually vomits in the purse that she stole in Suicide Squad. I thought that was another little nod. We do see flashbacks from Suicide Squad. The flashback of her jumping into the vat of chemicals, and of course she destroys the factory, which I thought was, that was kind of nice. Nice touch if you're gonna go that far. Let's see. There are some. Let's see. The character of the guy that owns the Chinese restaurant where she lives over. That was kind of an interesting thing. He even sold her out. That's what I meant about how there's no there's no altruistic male character. And I bring up that scene particularly where he sells her out because I really like the acting that Margot Robbie does there because, again, like I said, she's really phenomenal when it comes to playing the goofy Harley and reminding us of the cartoon Ditzy Harley. But at that moment when she's really devastated that she was betrayed by somebody, she played that very well. And I think in a film like this where people are just taking for granted she's just being funny and goofy and stuff, that was really a great scene. A great performance in that scene by her. We got that very brief, Marilyn Monroe scene. I thought that should have gone on longer. I mean, I guess the reason why it didn't is because she was basically belted by Roman Sionis, and it just triggered it. But that's the kind of stuff that I kind of thought was going to be peppered into the movie a little bit more. They had the scene with her breaking into the prison, and she had to rewind it because, of course, she was too scatterbrained to tell the story in order, and she kind of had to rewind. That was what I mean. That kind of stuff was authentic Harley Quinn. I could kind of feel that this was partially written with the best of intentions. You know what I mean? This was not really a complete, some people would accuse Margot Robbie of this being sort of like a vanity project. I don't know about that. It feels like it's authentic Harley Quinn. I think the problem is, though, there was just no regard for the other characters. The other characters meant nothing. And I don't think they meant anything to the writer. I think Christina Hodson. Yeah, I think that's her name. I don't think those characters meant anything. I think Margot Robbie just had a laundry list of give me a bunch of female characters, and they just went to the DC universe database or whatever and just picked up whatever they thought would work in this context. Black Canary, let's make her sing. Oh, let's make her black because we got to tokenize these characters. We need an Asian actress. Get Cassandra Cain, even though she doesn't fit this character's role in any way, shape, or form. That's kind of it feels like an afterthought, and I'm pretty sure it was an afterthought in every aspect. A lot of, there was some funny gags, there was some funny jokes. The joke of her with the egg sandwich, again, felt very Harley Quinn. And, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it, I guess. I would say if I had to put a ranking on this, like I said, probably 2.5 stars out of 5. Could easily be 2 stars out of 5. But I'm going to give it the extra half a star for Margot Robbie's performance as Harley Quinn because she was born to play this role. It's kind of the way I feel with certain things like Man of Steel with Henry Cavill. I mean, Henry Cavill's good, so, I kind of want to give him a little more credit than he gets, but the film itself really isn't that good. In this case, this is the complete opposite of Man of Steel, though. This is sort of like where they did the character justice. It's just the whole world around it. Where in Man of Steel, they didn't even do Superman justice. So yeah, I'm going to say 2.5 stars out of 5 for Birds of Prey. I'm going to say that would translate to a D+. A D+ or a C-. I'm probably going to have to say a D+, though. But again, this is not a film that is like too hard to take. I mean, you know, I think a lot of people are over exaggerating its flaws. I would not say this was a waste of time if you wanted to check it out. I think it's decent. I don't think it's horrible, but at the same time, it could have been much better. It deserved to be much better. Margot Robbie deserves a lot better than this as Harley Quinn, and the fans of Harley Quinn deserve a lot better than this. Where do we go from here, going forward with Harley Quinn? I doubt it's going to get much better. If anything, they're probably going to try to do the lesbian relationship with Poison Ivy. I don't want to see that. They're probably going to keep her apart from the Joker. I know, and I don't want to see that either. I know that she's slated for Suicide Squad 2, or aka The Suicide Squad, by James Gunn, coming up, I guess, next year, 2021. So we do have a chance. We do know that she's coming back, and we do have a chance of seeing her perhaps in a project that's a little bit more comic accurate. But like I said, hopefully they get her back with the Joker. They have something to do with the Bat family. I mean, we had a cameo with her in Batman before. They have sort of a, it's not really a post-credits tag, but they have her say something about she's going to tell a secret of the Batman, and then, of course, the movie's over before she can say it. The animated prologue, let's talk about that briefly. Yeah, they started with like an animated prologue. And it tells a little bit about Harley's origin that I never knew before. I don't know how far that was taken in the comics, but I found that interesting. All right, so that about does it. We are giving Harley Quinn's solo first movie, at least that's what I'm going to call it. They did kind of, once the film hit theaters, they did sort of like drop calling it Birds of Prey and start calling it Harley Quinn. But I am going to give Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn 2.5 stars out of 5. That's 2.5 stars out of 5. That's like a D+. So, let me know what you think in the comments below. How did you feel about Birds of Prey? Have you even seen the film? Do you intend on seeing the film? Do you agree with me that it is not awful, but that it is sort of a wasted opportunity? I really would have liked to see that be a full-fledged dance number with Harley Quinn, because they did that in the cartoon. Didn't they do that in the episode where she did like a song and dance number? And instead they kind of like did it as this like brief, I don't know, hazy dream sequence from her getting belted around. I don't know. That would have been interesting. So hopefully they can play to their strengths a little bit more next time. So, until next we meet, this is Johnnie Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.